Hello, people of the interwebs. My name is David Bernard. I am the co-founder of LeadBetterAI. We are a marketing technology company and marketing services company that specializes in helping acupuncturists and other clinical practitioners find profitability. We also believe in the tenets of integrative medicine, in that we want businesses themselves to represent those principles that they teach and impart to their patients, and that's what it's all about. So I have the privilege today of interviewing a very special client, Noa Lynne Sutherland. I have known her for over a decade. She was actually way back in the early 2000s, 2013 or 14, I think. We knew each other before that. I had a previous business, but she was one of the very first clients that I had for my web design company, and we did all kinds of stuff together, and that was a wild ride, to be sure. But today, I'm interviewing her about her clinic, Zoe Acupuncture and Herbal Medicine. If you want to check them out, you can go to zoewell.com. Zoe spelled Z-O-I, zoewell.com. All right, Noa, my first question. So you have survived where most acupuncturists do not. I think the statistics are that 90% of people that set out to start a clinic fail. So my first question is, why have you succeeded where so many have not?
Woo! Well, first of all, I feel like this is my highest calling. I love it. Like, I absolutely love it, and I can't imagine doing anything else. Second of all, I've had every bit of support I could possibly need along the way. And I am really unafraid of asking for mentorship and help. And I think one of the biggest things that helped me succeed when I opened my first tiny clinic in like 400 square feet, like a closet, that first month I went from 0 clients to seeing 26 people a week. And at that point, I had been counseled by people who I found to not be very great business people in like the service industry. And I don't think I was counseled, but I was listening to them. And there was a lot of talk. They were using a lot of like business class, business school, and financial terms like room occupancy. And to me, so, wanting to keep all of their rooms full for most of the day and then doing the math and like, this is going to equal this much money for me. And my main motto when I opened the first clinic the first morning was, excellence in patient care is everything. I don't care how many patients I see a day. I want results. And so I wanted to practice with the utmost integrity. And I think people responded immediately to the authenticity of my mission, was that I'm going to take you and really listen to you and observe what you're going through and understand your history. And I'm going to use every resource at my disposal and within my scope of practice to get you well and vibrantly healthy. So I don't know, it just worked immediately. Like the first person told another person, told another person. And as we got more and more results, people wanted to come in, and that filled my rooms. It filled my day. It was why I was able to, within 1 year, triple the size of the clinic and hire my first employee and then my second. And then on my 2.5 year of practice, we launched our herbal company. And on the 3rd year of practice, we doubled the size of that clinic. And then we have 5 practitioners now. And we have 8 formulas for retail, and we have a completely full like herbal pharmacy of liquid herbal medicine tinctures for customizing medicine for our patients. But everything we did was based on the need of the patient. Like, I didn't have enough rooms at one point. We needed to serve more people, and we wanted them to be more comfortable and have more privacy. So we got a bigger space. And then I didn't like patent pills, or like a lot of people aren't going to drink the teas that are just dirt, herbs, and bark.
They taste gross. They work, but they taste gross. Yeah.
And so we were already tincturing, and that's like one of the easiest, quickest, painless ways and most potent ways to take herbal medicine. And so a lot of my patients are women's health patients, and they were really not doing great with just the standard patent pill that couldn't be customized. So we were able to start making individual tinctures of all the Chinese herbs and then controlling the amount down to the milliliter. And so my point is that we were following the patient's needs and trying to keep up and catch up as fast as we could. And people really have responded to that amount of compassion and care and personalization. And it's really what has filled the bank accounts over and over to allow us to invest in the next step.
That's amazing. I think it's really visible how passionate you are about what you do. And I think that is something that shouldn't be overlooked. That even in my own company, we started as a marketing company that was geared towards serving realtor space. I have no connection to that. My business partner at the time had a connection to that, and I was trying to make it work. I figured I could learn any market. But once I started talking to these people, I mean, they're lovely, but nothing against realtors, but we just have nothing in common. And I look like this, and I don't wear suits, and I have a big beard, and I don't fit the profile of who they expected to talk to. And so after trying to make this work for 3 months, I realized that we weren't in alignment. And then I had a talk with my business partner, and both of us met in acupuncture college. And so it seemed the obvious thing to do. I don't know why that wasn't the first thing that we tried to do, but once we opened that door, we realized that alignment is the key to success. Like if you don't have passion for the people that you serve, then you're always going to be speaking different language, and there's going to have to be some kind of translation mechanism going on between you at all times that really takes you out of being able to commune with people. And so
well, there's other reasons that you can get kicked out of like what you once thought you would do, like become an independent acupuncturist to start seeing patients all the time, like motherhood or fatherhood and like taking care of young children. I have a 1 and 3-year-old, and besides being with them and the joy that that brings me, like being inside the clinic is 100% that grounded, fulfilling right place. And I'm proud to be a mother and a woman in front of my 2 daughters that is committed to healing and helping and serving other people in our community. And so that really offsets any of the guilt that you have, especially as a woman, when you're making that choice to not be a full-time like stay-at-home mother, or you don't have that choice financially. You know what I mean? It's really important to love what you're doing. I also want to say for this podcast that David might not mention it, but he is the reason I'm in this industry. I was a musician. He was booking my shows because he had like a, what do you call it? Like music promotional company when I was a musician in Austin. And I was so sick. I was homebound for a month. I could not even play my shows. And he was like, you need acupuncture. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And he was like, I have a master's in Chinese medicine. And I was like, who spends money on that kind of thing? Because I didn't know that that makes you a physician. I thought it was just the study of the theory of something. Anyway, and so like I literally knew nothing. And he gave me my first acupuncture, my first herbs. It was the only thing in 25 years that had ever been able to like stop my episodes in their track until we realized it was actually celiac and got rid of the main root problem. But like it's been the healing factor in my life. I've been in remission for 13 and a half years now. And because I was so sick, just decided this is so interesting. I've always been an academic. I've always been wanting to care for people. So I ended up transitioning my whole entire career and going into medical school because of you, which I think is crazy that we're here now. It's 13 years later.
It is crazy. I at the time was in my mind, because I had started a business while I was still in school and we were starting to get momentum with that. That's really the only reason that well, it's not the only reason, but one of the main reasons that I didn't pursue getting my license and starting a clinic. But I felt like I'd gone to school, I'd committed to that path. I was really into the science and the medicine side of it and what it could do and all those kinds of things. But it felt like when you decided to go to school for that and make that your vocation, like it was a passing of the guard or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I stepped out and you stepped in, and yeah. So you became the tribute, so to speak. But now, 13 years later, however long it's been, now that we're coming back and everything that has happened in my businesses are now like coalescing into being something useful in this space, it just feels like serendipity in a way that kind of chokes me up on the inside.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, being able to start this journey with you as one of our first clients as well is, it just feels good, and I'm so happy to see how far you've come. So that brings me to my next question, and you sort of have answered it a little bit, but I'm going to dig in a little deeper. You have had success in your clinic. You've moved locations twice. You've expanded the size of your operation. You've hired additional acupuncturists. You also have a massage therapist, a sauna, and all these. You have a line of tinctures that are branded and sold for retail, and you have a market and a venue, and you're a mom and a wife. How, in God's name, are you able to do so much and manage the difficulties that come not with just running one business, but essentially 3 or 4? How do you do it, Noa?
I think that you answered it in God's name. Well, truly, like I am like a very strong woman of faith. So I've prayed through every single moment. I actually was just considering all of the things it took to get here the other day, and I'm in shock and in awe of it. But I will say one of the mottos of our clinic, so if you have like some little pearls from here, I would say the first one is excellence over room occupancy, and the second one is the long obedience in the same direction. Like we just have no interest in quitting. So there has been so much struggle and difficulty and frustration. However, the connecting thread is I'm not a perfect practitioner, nor am I a perfect person or friend or wife or mother, but everyone knows that I care, like very much. So what happened was that I had the clinic, and then Abigail just pushed me over the cliff really and said, you're going to start your herbal company, right? Zoe Medicinals. And so we started producing that, and she only had 1 baby and I had none, and I was single, and we were like super full of energy, and I was 29, she was 24, we had like energy for days, and we just like went hard after that with you designing the labels and the branding. But then it's been like literally blinders on, head down, and I'm you know, when you're a person who really cares about alignment and about peace, like the peace of God that leads you in the direction you're meant to go in this world, like you end up marrying people you're really aligned to as well. Like I married a husband who is like my biggest champion. I mean, he makes my coffee in the morning and he puts the collagen. He doesn't even drink coffee, but he's got all the stuff in it for like my protein goals and my like, you know, all that. And he takes care of the kids in the middle of the night so that I can go and treat my patients the next morning. He also owns a music festival and he loves people and community. So he wanted to open the store that you're talking about, Zoe Market. And we made partnerships with a florist and a bakery, and we kind of all like they're vendors of ours who are inside this beautiful wellness market. And then next door to that was this gorgeous building. It's all built in 1898, but he designed his first music venue. And because of that, we were able to put a coffee shop and a cocktail bar. And Zoe Medicinals was able to enter in the alternatives menu with our medicinal mocktails and all of our health drinks. And so in order to maintain all of this, it took like Travis and I being devoted to one another and devoted to one another's callings. Like, I will not get in your way. I'm not going to pull you out of the game. But I've tried a few times to pull him out of the game. Like I kind of lied and tried to go back on my, because it has been so hard and stressful. But at the same time, we started connecting people onto our team one by one that we could trust and lean into. And when we didn't have anyone that we could trust, we fell apart and like called parents and grandparents and made people come in from out of town and like literally rally around us. I mean, this honestly, growing something and then maintaining it, and the busier you are, the more you are stewarding and managing. I mean, we went from 7 employees to 48 employees in 1 year.
Wow.
No, in 6 months.
Wow.
And so the more shameless you have to become, like this is scary to say because I'm not perfect, but like staying humble or getting low and really asking for the help that you need and telling people exactly what's going on with you. Like my whole staff knows that I am spending 4 hours a week now in self-care. And I'm not taking it away from my children. That means they're going to see on our clinic schedule that I'm getting a massage, that I'm in the sauna, that I'm getting acupuncture twice a week, and that I'm going to counseling. Do you know what I mean? And I'm letting them know because I'm setting really strong boundaries. It makes me feel vulnerable. Like maybe they could think I don't have as high of a work ethic. You know what I mean? But that is like, after 10 years of working this hard, that's like that pride button in your head. That's like, you have to pretend that you're something that you're not. And you also need to show people your strength and how your prowess, and you're like, you've won all of this. And I didn't win anything. I've literally like been carried here by our community and by asking for like that grace and that support. You know what I mean? And I want to teach people by example too, that if you don't cut out time for yourself or so into your own life, you will burn out 100%. And then everything you've been investing in could just go away. However, I don't think anything is ever wasted. It always like comes back later on in life. But you know, if you've been building something for a long time with that long obedience in the same direction, you know, you got to do whatever it takes to hold on to it. And sometimes that's self-care, and a lot of times it's more communication than you want to communicate.
For sure. I think that's a great answer. And I also think that resonates with me a lot. Like I'm the poster boy for somebody whose path doesn't seem to be a long obedience in the same direction. That you know, my undergrad was in computer engineering, and then I took some time off and worked at a cemetery for 3 years as a family service counselor. And then I did my graduate for acupuncture and Oriental medicine. And then while I was there, I started a music promotions company. And then after that, we started a web design company. And then after that, we started a marketing company. And now we're doing AI. Like none of those things seem to connect in any kind of way. But I have to tell y'all that everything is coming together right now for the first time in my life, where it all makes sense. Like I didn't realize I was on the same path. I thought I was starting over here and going over there. And the key to unlock that for me was alignment. Is as soon as you just accept who you are and you accept what you like and you lean into the things that you want out of life and you are unapologetic about asking for those things, then all of a sudden it's like the universe or God or whatever your brand of spirituality is listening. They've been listening the whole time, but that's the moment of like chrysalis where everything starts to unlock and the doors start to open and you finally feel like you have clarity on your path. But I also just want to speak to the humility component to that. I could definitely not have ended up where I'm at right now if it wasn't for everybody that supported me in my life, whether that's financially or emotional support, friendship, like people that showed up for me even when I didn't know I needed somebody to show up. Like I think that people have a tendency to not notice, primarily because of what you said. It's hard to ask for help, and it's hard to have vulnerability in how you express yourself. And we feel like we need to have the appearance of having it all together and not showing signs of weakness and being strong at all times and not having a tough day and all that kind of stuff. So even when people are there for us, we have a tendency to maybe act like we're taking it for granted in some kind of ways and not have gratitude. And for me, the gratitude and the humility go hand in. can. So, but those
You have
are
to bleep that out if I'm going to post this.
well, we don't have to post that part.
I want to, though.
gratitude
It's good content.
yeah.
Like, it's good. People need to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, this is just what I'm learning. And so that's fundamentally what we believe. Like our core tenets is that the ethics of your business underpin, it's like the cornerstone of what you're going to be able to do with your business and who you're going to be able to serve. It has to be in alignment with your personal values. And that means that the way that you operate in business has to be the way that you operate in your personal life, your family life, and every other aspect of your life. If you are split and you have personality A for this situation and personality B for that situation and personality C for social media and all this kind of stuff, then nothing can ever align. So that's my diatribe. I'm supposed to be asking you questions, but you rung my bell, and I just had to speak to what you were saying, because those are the things that are paramount on my mind these days, and I think it's really beautiful that's where you're at. So, okay, next question. Tell me about some of the biggest challenges in managing such a large operation and managing a clinic specifically, and how you deal with the things. Like, there's obviously things that you have to learn along the way. whether it's managing your people, or it's communicating with your patients, or it's things like marketing or taxes, or whatever the things are that represent the hardest part of what you do. What are those things, and how have you managed them?
Where do we start? You'll probably hear our dryer. We're like having to wash and dry sheets for a clinic. Anyway, so like, yeah, anyway, where do we start? Where do you want to start? Because there's the human perspective, like there's the staff. I do not recommend going into single person practice. I believe that your clients and your community deserve more from TCM. And I think we are the future of medicine. Integrative TCM, like using our modern resources with the pharmacology of plant medicine and acupuncture, all of this, they deserve more from us than like us having to be the only person they can trust. So like, I do think staffing has been hard, but you have to start with strong boundaries and strong interviewing skills, which I didn't get until this year. So, I mean, I've been hiring people since 2016. And so, I mean, it's just been really hard to put such an important thing to me, like my baby, into the hands of other people. And communication within a complex system, people who don't know anything about TCM but are great at running your front of house are going to have a hard time kind of learning the language. And you have to be very patient and, thorough. And you need to do a lot of checks and balances. And I'm not good at that because I am like all forward. So in like the ready, aim, forward, ready, aim, fire, I'm ready, fire. Like the aiming is like the planning and the wisdom way forward, and I'll aim later. Like, yeah. I'm like, let's implement this, and then we're going to direct it later. And so every time I have a new staff member, I tell them, this is 100% jumping into the deep end to work here. But we've created such a valuable environment that a lot of people want to work there, and they're excited to, and they want that challenge. You know what I mean? So you got to give them a reason. I do think communication with people has been the hardest. Secondly, this is kind of like a boring answer and maybe a little bit of a boring question, but it has to be answered because it's like, it's electronic health records. It's charting. You know what I mean? It's having the time to chart, to do inventory, order your herbs, make sure you have enough needles, make sure the place is clean and sanitized every time. You have to have a high level of cleanliness in a clinic. You have to have all of your biohazard, and all of the companies that have to do that, taking your biohazard out, like making sure people are managing the AC and heating, like all of that stuff really gets in the way of clinical care. And if you are a physician, you should be working on your patients. Like you shouldn't have, but anyway, you have to in the beginning. And I did say, without kind of explaining a lot of why you should have other people working with, or maybe try to work with at least one other practitioner. But in our practice, one of the hardest things was knowing that I couldn't leave for a month to be there for my sick child or my mother or my father if I wanted to, or I had to risk losing a lot of my patients. Our clinic is family first. And so all of our patients have a secondary practitioner. So balloons. I'm the primary physician for my acupuncturist, for my patients. And then they have a secondary in my clinic who would be up to date on all of their case. You know what I mean? So that they don't have to miss a single treatment. And Tiffany had to leave our clinic when I was 2 weeks postpartum with Simone, because her mom was potentially going to be put on hospice. Now she wasn't actually dying. It was actually another condition, which is so funny because we thought she was dying for a few weeks and it was a big deal. And now it's like 2 years later and she's still rocking and rolling. But like Tiffany left for 7 weeks on my second week of postpartum, and Victoria took all of our patients.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
And so, but we're integrated that way. So I think the hardest part is like making sure that you have sustainability and longevity for your clinic. The other stuff, the admin stuff, you can try to hire out and you can find your rhythm and spend 1 hour a day on all of it and you'll get through it.
Yeah.
But the people part's hard.
Sure, the people part is always hard. That's why we work with robots. No, I think that's great advice. I think that's great advice. And I think that that's something that every acupuncturist is gonna encounter if they have longevity in their careers, is that you are the bottleneck. If you're the practitioner and you're the front of house and you're the admin and you're the marketer, like you're not being set up for success. And so you have to figure out ways to, be more efficient, find support, outsource, whatever you have to do. You got to be scrappy and get to a place where you have a team of support. Otherwise, you can't scale. Like what a lot of practitioners find is that just because you have to have a brick and mortar clinic, your overheads are fixed to some degree and expensive, depending on what market you're in. And you might find that you need to make $50,000 a month just to break even. But how many treatments do you have to give for that? If it's 100 a week and you're the only guy, you might as well just make your bed at the clinic, right? So
I don't want to be offensive, but I call that vending machine acupuncture.
yeah, for
So
sure.
it's just like the patient's like back pain, and then the one in the next room is like knee pain, and then the next one's fertility, and you just like go in and put the needles in and then run and take them out. And like you don't get the face time that I think is the beauty of our medicine, with the potential to be slow medicine,
Yeah, absolutely. It's
like
not, it's
slow
not good for the
patient care,
patient.
like really diving in and doing that inner, not that fast treatments can't get great results, but it's overwhelming too to the practitioner.
Absolutely. And exhausting and all the things. So yeah, that's good advice. So the next part of this podcast that I want to talk about are what you actually do, how it actually works, and kind of some of the miracle stories that you've had. You've been in practice a long time now. You've seen a lot of patients, and you've been on the journey. You also have other practitioners with you that have been on the journey, and you make your own line of tinctures. So tell me some stories about things that you've treated and the results that you couldn't believe.
Well, so I specialize in autoimmune disease, and a lot of my patients are with me long term, and we are just monitoring their health and managing their bodies to get them out of flares and into remission. So for my practice, I get fewer, what do you call it, like instant gratifications. Although we have major wins in the first 3 to 4 weeks, I think the consistent miracle with acupuncture and herbal medicine, especially in women's health with autoimmune disease, is that probably 90% of my autoimmune patients either get off their medicine completely or are able to stay off of pharmaceutical medications completely with previously diagnosed thyroid diseases, autoimmune RA, all that, lupus. And I have some cancer patients. I have a patient right now that has had 2 double lung transplants. We're not getting her off her medications, by the way. But for me, the biggest reward is in finding ways for giving our patients tools that they love, that they use to manage their health in order to stay out of a flare. And we have been able to do that consistently about 90% of the time for the last 6 years.
That's amazing.
So I've had, young children patients with swelling joints, you know what I mean? I just ran into one who's in college now, and they're like, their joints are great, and so for me, the biggest wins are like seeing people discover what their, food intolerances are, what their how their biological makeup is really affecting their success and becoming healthy long term, and then watching them move from a place of I can barely get out of bed, or every time my cycle happens, I explode my family, you know what I mean, to becoming a best version of themselves. And then, with Tiffany and Victoria, they do a lot more pain and musculoskeletal and more acute or short-lived conditions. And they have so many instant gratification stories of just absolutely no more pain, which my patients get out of pain really fast too. But it's those long-term results and walking with them over the years with tune-ups. They don't come in every single week. After a while, they'll come in once every 6 weeks or so. But just watching people walk out of consistent flaring, consistent high levels of pharmaceutical medication, and then 5 years later, we're sitting there talking about how they haven't taken any pharmaceuticals for 4 years and they're fine.
Yeah.
But they go on to start new businesses and actually live or pursue their dreams. You know what I mean? So that's sort of my fave thing. And fertility's been fun. I kind of downplay it because I've been doing it for so long, but watching so many people become pregnant, and also watching so many people, we are able to flip their babies with moxa and acupuncture, for breech. That's always a miracle. And I think it happens probably 89% of the time in my clinic. And then other times there's an amniotic fluid or some sort of structural issue that's in our way, but that's rare. And then also inducing labor without Pitocin. That happens about 90% of the time. It's incredible.
Yeah, my wife had 2 of her friends that saw content pieces that you put on Facebook or Instagram related to fertility specifically. Both of them had been, getting fertility treatments, and not having success for 2 or 3 years. And after reading your post or watching your post, they both sought out an acupuncturist and they both got pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I had a patient who she wrote a review and she was like, Noah puts the needles in and I get pregnant. And she puts the needles in and the baby comes out. And I was like, that is not necessarily all the steps.
Yeah.
We got to bring your husband in here at some point. It was so cute.
Yeah. So you've used the term modern. You have modern tinctures, and you use a modern approach to medicine. I think that there's two camps for the most part. You have the traditionalists that think it's all about the raw herbs and it's about the needles and it's about the foundational texts that we learn in school. And then you have people that are all on board about an integrative approach that leverages what modern medicine can offer, through functional medicine and lab testing and those kinds of things. Give us your philosophy as to why you have the perspective that you have when it comes to this stuff.
Well, Dr. John Chen, he's a TCM doctor. Most of you should be familiar if you're an acupuncturist, but TCM physician and also an MD pharmacist who writes all of our text on the pharmacological effects of herbal medicine. And also we have the toxicology for herbal medicine, and we know how herbal medicines interact with medications. And Americans, I think the American population, I think it's like everyone's on like an average of 3 medications in this country at this time. I don't remember the exact stat, but a lot of people are on a lot of meds. And we have modern diseases, like it's almost like, if you're seeing a lot of patients, you know what I'm talking about. Like there's so much metabolic disorder, so many autoimmune diseases, so many anaphylactic shock allergies. There is like, it's mind blowing what we're seeing now compared to what we study in the ancient texts of TCM and what they were facing, a lot of cold diseases. And only the rich people could afford to be dealing with what we are dealing with now on a large scale because of, unsound food source, like full of chemicals. We have so many chemical and endocrine disruptors. Our bodies, we're living in a toxic soup, and it's very important that we keep up with modern conditions. And so one of the best ways to do that is lab testing. And I will also argue to the traditionalists that TCM specialists thousands of years ago were trying to be on the cutting edge of diagnostics. I think the TCM doctors were the first ones to come up with a valid test to prove that someone had diabetes type 2, which we call Charcot syndrome, but it's someone urinating on a brick and then to see if ants would come to the sugars in the urine. So and I know that might have been cross-cultural, but I know this was part of ancient Chinese medicine. And so they were using that was like the brick was the test strip. And so at this time, I'm able to run my functional labs for all my Dutch urinalysis testing for hormones. I can see exactly where the breakdown is. Is it phase 1 detoxification, phase 2, or phase 3? And that would help me save and spare a patient from taking DIM and those types of things that would make their condition worse because I'm not guessing if it's phase 2 or phase 3 instead of 1. So like that's a huge game changer for my hormone patients. And then with the functional blood testing, if my patients have high liver enzymes, I mean, Tu Fu Ling, Chai Hu, Wu Wei Ce, 100% of the time, bring those enzymes back into normal ranges. Just you can use that in your clinic right now. But like if a patient's coming in and they oftentimes there has been malpractice or something has been missed by their physician, and we are the gatekeepers and we are catching them, right? So some of my patients never ever want to see a medical doctor in their life, and I'm like, let me run your labs, and then I'm like, look at this is emergent, and then we get them to the right specialist. Because I'm like, we need to save your life before we continue on with slow medicine and like rebuild. It takes time to rebuild the foundations and the integrity of your organ systems. And so I can give all the Bujang Yiqi Tong I want. I can give all the Bajin Tong. But if a patient has a level of like 18, 19 for their vitamin D3, like I cannot inject that into them with a herbal formula. I can help them synthesize a little bit better or maybe support that, but it's never been enough. And so when I can show my patient that you've got to get your levels between 50 and 90, and I really want them at 80, it's a life-changing thing. And it makes all of our medicine with Chinese medicine go so much faster, more beautifully, smoother. I mean, I didn't start getting people like way into remission until we started integrating labs. So I find it's a way that we can be a good gatekeeper and we can send people to the right physicians when necessary. And it also allows me to use the pharmacological effects of Chinese medicine so much more specific. What doctor is it on our like E-Lotus? I can't remember. Y'all are probably going to know, but he calls this like sniper versus spray and pray, like test, don't guess. And like recently, I just had a patient come in who has numbness and tingling of the tongue and the upper body and all through, and then all into her limbs as well. And it comes on as like these attacks, and they were so bad that it took her to the ER. She's been through every single specialist, every single test, and absolutely no diagnosis. It's kind of mimicking Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is often a complication of either post-vaccination or it can be a complication of Epstein-Barr. Well, guess what? I'm the only one that ran the pathogens lab. So she had Epstein-Barr.
Oh, wow.
And it was active. Like it wasn't it passed infection.
Wow.
Not one, not an endocrinologist, not the muscle specialist, not the neurologist. No one ran a pathogen lab. And so now we have a plan, and it's safe to follow the plan because she's been seeing her physicians. She's up to date with those appointments. She's in the clear for emergent need of support from a physician, from an MD. And we are now able to clear that pathogenic factor because Xuanxing is the best herb for Epstein-Barr virus. Plus we use the 3 yellows and so on and so forth. And we're really making a major focus on the liver detoxification so that she can actually remove those things from her system. And then the rest is gut protocol and acupuncture. Like, I don't even know how we can practice with integrity in the modern day. However, that I shouldn't say it like that because tongue and pulse is so powerful. And I'll be the first to admit, I think I have 30 more years of need for, like, I've been doing pulse for 13 years. I need 30 more. I need 50 more. I need 60 more to, like, become as excellent as I want to be and actually, diagnosing things with pulse. I'm pretty okay. You know what I mean? But I love the backup when I can feel it in the pulse. And then I'm looking at the labs later and I'm like, oh my gosh, 100%. And so I'm learning too from reading labs how to be a better pulse diagnostician. You know what I mean? So it's great. It's hand in hand. And what we say to our patients is that we do not diagnose or treat or prescribe according to Western medicine, but that we use the value of your lab information to, along with our TCM diagnostics and your health history and your current presentation, to design a more specific formula and acupuncture therapy to your unique biology.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that the individualized aspect of what you do, the amount of time that you take with the patient, I might be speaking out of turn, but there's no question in my mind that when you go to see a Western medicine specialist and they have 5 minutes to give you, and they're being taught a modality that is the same across the board, the same prescription, the same, if you're just a surgeon, you're prescribing surgery, if you prescribe pills, you prescribe pills, the same dosages, same medications across the board. And they're looking for like a blunt instrument to manage medicine in a way that is really only addressing the symptoms. I think anybody that's into integrative medicine can at least understand that. But the amount of value that you provide just by taking the time and being able to use something that allows a bridge between the languages, one of the barriers to entry for traditional Chinese medicine, I think, is the language barrier. You're talking about things like qi and Jing and Shen and these energies that people don't really understand, and you don't have a cultural reference point for what the heck they're really talking about, then it's intimidating and it sounds like magic or woo-woo or something that isn't scientific in any kind of way. They don't realize that this might have been one of the first empirical sciences where it's let's stick this thing here and see what happens, and then take notes and then adjust our treatment and keep on with it.
Well, when we launched Zoe Medicinals, we had to come up with our world mission. What is our big mission statement? And we landed on, in 2017, that our mission statement is to make natural medicine relevant to every family. And so we start speaking their language. Look at these liver enzymes, look at your womb, look at the lining of your uterus, look at your ovaries or your heart health, your cardiovascular, your arteries and veins and capillaries, blah, blah, blah. We use the words that everybody knows. Mm-hmm. That most people know. And then we bring them home into our space from there. So we're like, the lining is like the yin, and the egg implantation is like the yang, and then the growth, you know what I mean? The egg is the yin, and the growth outside of that, so you're yang deficient. You know what I mean? You need more heat, and you need more warmth, and you need more blood movement to get, anyway, to support your ovulation and then conception and implantation and all of that. And so they understand that they're going for a baby, and they know the word conception and egg and sperm quality. And so we teach them kind of what the TCM terms are on the other side instead of leading with the TCM terms. And I keep telling practitioners and my friends, I'm like, speak English to English speakers. Like, it's just wild that we're afraid of being sued or something. I totally understand. And that's why we have all of our disclaimers and documents that patients have to sign. They understand that we are trying to connect with them in a way they can understand. And then we're going to teach them what Chinese medicine says about this. And I just say, we're going to teach you a more poetic language to describe what's happening with your biological processes. But when I say qi, I might actually mean electrical conduction, or, you know what I mean? So the connection and the discussion between your hormones, right? Or your cells. And then they're like, oh, and so what's the difference between qi and blood and yin and yang? And it's really important to bring them into that space so they understand what kind of practitioner you are. Because we're teaching people an entirely new system of medicine in this country. And it is so exciting, but you can't start in China and you can't just be in America. You've got to in ancient China, modern China, but you can't live there and you can't live here. You really have to come and participate in the integration of the two And this is what they do in Chinese hospitals, TCM doctors. I mean, this isn't something I made up or like my mentors made up. You know, we're like we're using logic, and we're being you know, we're trying to practice with integrity. So you have to follow the need. Like the patient needs to understand what makes you different than a Western functional medicine doctor, but they also don't need you just to be like, oh, I'm just gonna like tonify your chi today. Anyway, I have a patient in 15 minutes. So like, if you have any heavy questions, I mean, sorry, 25 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't want to keep talking because I could talk forever.
Yeah. Let's just wrap it up by give me a list of the conditions that your clinic specializes in and that you see tons of patients for.
Okay. Well, anything autoimmune, mystery illnesses that haven't been properly diagnosed, anxiety, stress, mood disorders, depression, infertility, difficulty with conditions in pregnancy. Like I have a lot of success with preeclampsia, which they say is not possible. We have success, and it's been incredible, including helping people have natural births in birthing centers. Totally overseen and legit above board, but it works. It's been amazing. And then we also see a lot. I do postpartum care, and then we do a lot of facial rejuvenation. Victoria is incredible at that, but she also does body points to help balance digestion and your hormonal health and skin and whatever you need that day. So you kind of get a twofer, you know. And then we do plenty of back pain and knee pain and musculoskeletal conditions, and TCM is very known for that. But I mainly see autoimmune disease and metabolic disorders. So we're talking insulin resistance and stubborn weight gain, cardiovascular diseases, lung diseases, digestive diseases, and things that are splintering. So it's like at first it was 70% of my patients have a thyroid disorder, whether they came in to see me for that or not. It's either their primary concern or it's underlying, it's part of their story, maybe even more at this point. And so I call the thyroid the most bullied kid on the playground. So it's like we're sort of trying to work with whatever it is that's antagonizing the thyroid. But we see a lot of those types of conditions. But mainly for me, it's mystery illnesses. Like, what is going on with me? I'm totally out of control. I'm this way one day, the next day, I'm totally the opposite, or I can't figure out how to prevent what happens to me every time I'm about to start my period, or I'm not on it, or it's just total autoimmune out of control that's only being managed with steroids, and they can't take steroids anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's I mean, it really is amazing what the number of things that can be addressed. I think a lot of people think of you know, like traditional medicines as something that maybe it's placebo, or you know, something that we can't quite put our finger on how it works, but really the power of it is something that shouldn't be underestimated. Like, you know, reversing diseases, or at least putting people into remission for conditions that a Western medicine doctor would say, you have this is your life from now on. You have to take these pills for the rest of your life. Your quality of life might change a little bit, but it's better than the alternative. And so just listen and trust us, and we'll continue to get you your pills. I have my own experiences with treating people that like my dad had a hyperthyroid, and it took a long time because he was not the most cooperative patient, but we got his levels under control. Also, as a knock-on effect of that, he had gained about 80 pounds of water weight from the edema that he was suffering from, and it caused his mitral valve to malform essentially. Yeah. And once we took that off of his body, it went back to a normal shape. And his doctor said, "This is a miracle. That doesn't happen." They were ready to schedule
they say that
surgery. Yeah,
like they don't know food is medicine.
Right.
Like, it's wild.
Yeah. So not to knock them, Western medicine has its place. We want to play nice with all the Western
medicine. I actually have to say,
I
100% believe that it is going to take our integration and like building bridges between one another to do the best, highest good for our patient.
Absolutely.
I had a home birth with Sterling. I had an emergency transfer to the hospital with Simone. I am so grateful for emergency medicine and for amazing physicians and doctors. And I'm definitely not interested in writing anyone off. I just have a lot of patients who got that 5-minute window with a doctor. And I think a lot of physicians will agree that even their umbrella hospitals and associations are requiring them to see that many patients in one day. It's not even sometimes their choice.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, it's a factory model. That's my wife, when she was pregnant, she got the full suite of all the things that you can have during a pregnancy. And she was in excruciating pain, and she went to see the doctor. She looked at her for 5 minutes and said that she thinks that what was it? That she was dehydrated. That's what it was. And thankfully we had a midwife that it just didn't sit well with her. She's like, that's too much pain. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so she had
was it her gallbladder?
No, she had fibroids. She had 10 fibroids. Some of them were, 6 centimeters or something like that. I mean,
this is what they do. They say, just so many times somebody will say something that serious is dehydration, or you're just not eating enough protein.
Yeah. yeah, it's meant, this is in your mind. It's not real because it doesn't make any sense to me or whatever, but yeah, she had a fibroid that was, essentially going through necrosis and causing a tremendous amount of pain. And
That's real.
it's the midwife who caught it, not the doctor. So yeah, I'm a little biased when it comes to my feeling about that kind of stuff.
But that's why we can work together, and I don't have any need for them to give me credit that I found Epstein-Barr virus in my patient.
right.
I need the patient to get better because that's best for my practice.
Yeah.
Let's just get better, and like then that makes other people feel that we have rapport and they can trust us. You know what I mean? I don't need them to give me any credit. And I also need them to be more thoughtful for all of, what I mean? It'd be great if they were screened before they even got to me. And then, even just with the conditions that we can treat too, like I recently saw an eosinophilic esophagitis patient, which is so rare, but it's like an autoimmune disease that happens in the esophagus, and it can stop your ability to swallow your food, and food can get impacted and stuck. Wow. And it does require Western medicine to diagnose. I cannot diagnose that. Right. I wouldn't even try, and it's illegal. Yeah. But like the point is that TCM, Chinese medicine, is actually the only therapeutic medicine that has the highest results of getting them into remission or getting really good results. And these are all like in case studies that you can search in your scholarly articles and things that have been posted on like case studies, right? So it was so exciting to work on it. He had to move states and we didn't finish the program, but it was so exciting to develop those formulas and to start treating it and to understand what had happened with Chinese medicine in this very rare autoimmune presentation.
Very cool. Well, Noa, thank you so much for your time. I think we got into the nitty-gritty. I really enjoyed our conversation. I hope you did as well, interwebs. And Noa, if somebody wanted to reach out and either get a treatment or a consultation from you or buy some of your herbs, where would they go?
We also do telemedicine, but you can go to zoewell.com, zoiwell.com, and that will lead you to how to book, and that's our phone number and everything. And then we also have zoemedicinals.com, zoimedicinals.com. And that's where you would go and buy our 8 herbal formulas. And we're soon to launch 18 more formulas that you can purchase for the core organ systems. But the 8 moderns that we have are developed for like the most common interruptions with health to like a vibrant lifestyle. So, I mean, we have sleep and women's health and allergies, and then respiratory support and inflammation and pain. We have a hydration support that really, it's called Nero, and it really helps to bring water into the tissues and the cells that need it and keeping them out of the areas of your body you don't want water. And so, yeah, we have 8 of those: digestive support, lipid, blood sugar, all that. That's zoemedicinals.com, and you can order them for yourself. I think you get 15% off your first order. And we're running promotions here and there. So you can follow our handles that are also at ZoeWell on Instagram and at Zoe Medicinals.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Noa. Thank you, everybody that's listening. We'll be back with more of the fun content of functional integrative medicine and all the shit we talked about. So
all of that. Don't post that. I'm just kidding.
I might bleep it. All righty. Well, that's a wrap.